The skeletal and muscular system of a snake. First, let us define what is skeletal system. So of course, it's the framework upon which the body is built. It provides support, protections, and it enables the animals to move. So the joints are considered to be an integral part of the skeleton. The skeletal system is made up of specialized connective tissues, bones, and cartilage. So it can be considered to be made up of three parts, and each part of the skeleton consists of many bones, and it plays an important role or part in the functions of the skeletal system. So snakes are also known by the scientific name serpentes, are limbless reptiles, but they are noticeably have no legs. However, not every legless reptile is known as a snake. They are easily noticeable by their elongated body that seemingly looks like a head with a long tail. So their bodies are incredibly strong. Through this strength is used for multiple purposes, and it is have a close relationship to a lizard. So seemingly the only components to a snake are their head and their tail, which takes up the entire length of their body. So some snakes are short as 4.1 inches like the Barbados thread snake, though the longest snake in the world, which is the reticulated python, is over 20 feet long. So all snakes are carnivores. They kill their prey using venom or through constrictions. All snakes' skeleton is essentially a skull attached to many vertebrae and ribs. So many organs in snakes are staggered in one front of the other from feet into their elongated bodies. So as you can see, these are the different types of snakes. There are differences of colors, sizes, and long. So before we proceed to the skeletal system of a snake, here are a few interesting facts about these kinds of reptiles. So out of over 3,800 different types, only 600 have venomous. Snakes like the gopher snake and king snakes are non-venomous. Only 200 of these snakes have enough potency to harm a human. So though they are a reptile, like a lizard, they have no eyelids or ear holes. So snakes do not chew their food despite the presence of teeth. So instead, they swallow it whole. So these reptiles can be found on every continent but not in Antarctica. The snakes to have lived the longest is located in the Missouri, and she is 62 years old.
So the skeleton of a snake is made up almost entirely of vertebrae and rib bones. So the vertebrae are divided into two parts. The first is the precaudal vertebrae, which are attached to its ribs, and the second is the caudal vertebrae, which are not attached to ribs and comprise the tail. The skull of a snake has many joints that allow the snake to open its jaw wide enough to swallow prey and much larger than its head. So the snake, the lower bones of the jaw or the mandibles are not connected like they're in mammals. At the front, each mandible is attached by a stretchy ligament. The mandibles can therefore spread apart laterally, increasing the width of the mouth. The mandibles are loosely connected at the back to the skull, allowing for much greater rotation than most animals have. This is how the snake can open its mouth wider than its body. The mandibles move independently of each other, slowly etching the prey into the throat. The snake's head or the fold walks forward in the side to side motion over the prey's body. So as the prey is levered backward, the head moves forward. The process can take a while into backward pointing teeth help ensure the prey does not escape if it's still alive. So swallowing is only half of the battle, though, and prey must also be digested. Snakes don't chew their food. They chemically digest it. So there is limited mechanical breakdown. Digestive enzymes can only act on the top outside of a meal. Consequently, snake digestion can take a while, and snake often cough up partially digested meals. And is the snake's many vertebrae give it great flexibility and wide range of movement. The skeleton of a snake looks very different from other theropods. Its skeleton is essentially a skull attached to many vertebrae and ribs. Snakes do not have leg bones, but remains of the pelvis are found in some boas and thread snakes. So snakes are slowly evolved and no longer have legs because they develop other ways to move. Millions of years ago, the ancestors of snake were lizards, part of a group of animals called reptiles. They are proof that the snake once had legs. Once. Even without legs, snakes don't all move the same way. So the number of bones present in snake lies around 300 to 400. Even though there are so many bones in a snake, they're still very flexible as all these bones facilitate movement. So the anatomy of a snake, note how each of the snake organs are long and thin, which are elongated to fit inside its body. So as you can see, this number one is the esophagus, and this number two is for trachea. This number three is tracheal lungs. And for number four, the rudimentary left lung. Next is this colored pink is the right lung. And this number seven is the heart. For number seven, this is the liver. For number eight, this is the stomach. For number nine, this is the air sac. Next is number 10, which is the gallbladder. And for number 11, this tiny one is the pancreas. And the small like circle, color red, is spleen. And for number 13, one is the intestine. One is the testicles. Last is the kidneys. This one and this one, both. They are both kidneys.
This is the muscular system of the snake. Muscle is a contractile tissue which is used to function properly or ginagamit ng mga snake yung muscles nila para makapag-function sila ng maayos or makagalaw sila ng maayos sa kanilang environment. Snake use their muscular system to help them to move around. Muscular skeletal system of snakes is extremely complex, means very complicated to understand or hard to understand because snake has several muscles span dozens of vertebrae. Nagre-range ito from 10 to 45 vertebrae sa snake's semi-spinalis to spinalis muscle called dorsiflexion. Ano nga ba dorsiflexion? Dorsiflexion is a backward bending. Yung snake have approximately 25 different muscles on each side of the body at each vertebra. These muscles serially repeat, overlap, interconnect, and rarely insert parallel to the vertebral column.
Snake muscles are more specialized and organized than those of any other animals because of their lack of limbs, loss of non-essential bones, and other structure. The muscle fiber are responsible to protect their organs. However, it is also used for locomotion and eating. And most of the snake have fast twitch or white muscle. Ginagamit ng mga snake ang kanilang muscular system to help them move. Meron silang 130 to 500 vertebrae na meron itong ribs attached para makagalaw na maayos. 10,000 to 15,000 muscles ang meron sa snake. The snake muscle tissue is indicated by solid lines, tendons by dashed lines, anterior is to the right. Number above the vertebrae indicate the number of vertebrae from the anterior origin of the muscle tendons chain. Muscles of snake. Internuralis, medial head of multifids, lateral head of multifids, interarticularis superior, longissimus dorsi, spinalis, semispinalis, interarticularis inferior, levator costas, iliocostalis, transversus dorsalis, transversus ventralis, obliquus internus dorsalis, obliquus internus ventralis, tubercostalis, intercostalis quadrolaris, supracostalis lateralis superior, supracostalis lateralis inferior, intercostalis externos, intercostalis ventralis. Longissimus dorsi, spinalis, semispinalis, and iliocostalis are the largest special muscles in the snake body.
So these are the oblique view of the trunk muscles of the Viperidae snakes. Cerastes to be specified, showing complexity of the muscle and tendon arrangements. Numbers indicate muscles as in previous figure, with the addition of 20 coscocutaneous inferior to 21 coscutaneous superior. Numbers indicate muscles as in previous figure, with the addition of 22 scutally interscutally complex, 23 parapophyseal hypopophyseus. Therefore, snakes have 4 methods of movement: serpentine, sidewinding, caterpillar, and concertina. So let's start with concertina. The snake pulls its body up into bends and then straightens up to move forward. So from straight body, i-bend niya yung katawan niya, and then para maka-move forward, i-straighten niya ulit yung body niya, and then the motion continues as the snake moves forward dun sa specified direction na kanyang pupuntahan. Next is serpentine. The snake thrusts its body from side to side, moving forward in a wave motion. So this is yung parang mga nakikita natin sa mga snake videos. Ito yung common na motion na makikita natin sa snake. As he move forward sa kanyang specific direction, gumagawa siya ng pa letter S or yung pa wave na motion while moving forward doon sa pupuntahan niya. Next is yung sidewinding. So the snake throws its head forward and then the rest of its body follows, making it move forward sideways. So ito yung makikita yung mga ganitong klase ng movement madalas sa mga desyerto or do sa buhangin. Ito ginagawa ng mga ahas. Ang ginagawa, dahil mainit yung surface ng buhangin, minimize niya yung contact ng kanyang belly dun sa sand. So kapag tinraw niya yung head niya, ifa-follow niya yung kanyang katawan pa sideways, parang nililift para ma-minimize yung contact nung kanyang belly dun sa sand. Ito'y moving forward sideways. Pa-lateral yung galaw ng motion. And then the last one is the caterpillar. This slow movement is similar sa caterpillars. Makikita natin to yung sa same motion with the caterpillar on how they move. According to my research, ginagawa to ng mga snake kapag nasa tunnel kung saan makikitid yung kanilang ginagalawan. Ang ginagamit nila dito ay yung kanilang loose belly muscles. Kumbaga, ang daming involved na muscle movement dito para lamang magawa yung straight na motion na movement nitong ahas. Ito yung mga muscle na makikita natin doon kapag from there, kapag tinaob nyo siya, makikita doon yung mga lining na muscle. Snakes use their muscular system to help them move. Having many bones in the spine makes the snake flexible because of each joint between vertebrae. So, according to my research, yung isang snake ay nagko-compose ng 200 to 400 vertebrates. Dahil dun, talagang yun yung nagiging dahilan ng pagkakaroon nila ng flexibility. And then, dahil dun sa structure ng katawan nila, yung bones and muscles na yun, nakakatulong din para ma-protect yung kanilang organ. Also, yung kanilang scales, malaking tulong sa kanilang movement. Kasi itong scales na to ay napaka-smooth. Kumbaga, dahil nga smooth itong scales na to, kapag sila ay gumawa ng motion, hindi sila masyadong maapektuhan ng friction mula dun sa surface. Dahil nga sa madulas yung kanilang scale.
The scaly skin is used for counter shading, which is a protective coloration of some animals in which parts normally in shadow are light, and those exposed to the sky are dark.
This is the trachea, this is the esophagus, and this is a vein that goes towards the heart. The left and right atria receive blood from the lungs and body and pass it to the ventricle to be circulated. The heart is encased in a sac called the pericardium. It is located at the branching of the bronchi, and the heart is able to move around because of the lack of diaphragm. This allows for large prey to move through the esophagus without damaging the heart.
So this is the stomach, which is a J-shaped organ in which most of the digestion occurs. The next one is the liver. One of the functions of the liver is to produce bile, which is a digestive system. The next one is the gallbladder. This one stores the bile produced by the liver and releases it to the small intestine. The small intestine can be found here, which is this. The small intestine is a long narrow coiled tube where absorbance of nutrients takes place. The next one is this, the kidney. The kidney are the organs responsible for the urinary output.
The respiratory system of the snake includes the trachea, the bronchi, the lungs, and an air sac. The tracheus starts at the back of the oral cavity and ends near the heart. The left bronchus goes to the left lung and it is vestigial. The right bronchus leads to the right lung, that is elongated. The forward portion of the lungs is vascular and functions in gas exchange. The second half of the lung is avascular and has an air sac that extends into the tail region. The air sac performs a hydrostatic function in most snakes that regulates pressure inside the body cavity. Air enters and leaves the lungs due to action of the body muscles and movement of the ribs.
So this is the reproductive system of a female snake. So what we have here is the left ovary and the right ovary. The ovary consists of follicular cells, epithelial and endothelial cells, nerve tissue and connective tissue, and an elastic tunic. They are elongated and near the pancreas, spleen, gallbladder, and cranial to the kidneys. The oviduct is divided into the infundibulum, magnum, uterus, and the vagina. The receptacellum seminis serves for sperm storage, allowing continued fertility. The brain is elongated and consists of the forebrain and the brainstem. It has a dorsal ventricular ridge and the telencephalon. The auditory portion of the midbrain appears better developed than expected. The tangential vestibular nucleus is well developed. The optic lobes of the midbrain receive primary input from the eye and secondarily from the olfactory and auditory centers.